the children of the night. What sweet music, Dagmar.
When Francis Ford Coppola unleashed Bram Stoker's Dracula in 1992, audiences expected another Gothic vampire story. What they received instead was a fever dream. Lavish, operatic costumes, surreal visuals, and performances that blurred the line between romance and nightmare. Coppola rejected digital effects in favor of early cinema illusions, using smoke, mirrors, and double exposures to create an atmosphere that felt both ancient and unsettling. Costume designer Eiko Ishioka's creations added to the hallucinatory mood, turning the screen into something closer to a living painting than a conventional horror film. At the center was Gary Oldman, who embodied Dracula as tragic, terrifying, and strangely seductive. Surrounding him, Winona Ryder, Keanu Reeves, and Anthony Hopkins gave the story a balance of intimacy and grandeur, anchoring the spectacle with human drama. Their ensemble work, paired with Coppola's daring vision, turned the film into something operatic in scope, yet deeply personal in tone. But behind the velvet curtains and gallons of blood, the set itself was just as unusual as the film on screen. Coppola used eccentric methods, demanded rituals from his cast, and encouraged techniques that blurred the line between performance and reality. What emerged was a production as strange and haunting as the story it sought to tell. Here are 25 strange and creepy facts about Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula, secrets that prove this Gothic classic was haunted both on and off the screen. Number 1. Coppola fired his effects team for being too normal. Francis Ford Coppola insisted on eschewing modern digital VFX, favoring early cinema techniques more fitting for the film's time period. When his conventional visual effects team told him what he wanted couldn't be done without CGI, he fired them and handed the work over to his son, Roman Coppola. The film's eerie visuals, in-camera effects, double exposure, forced perspective, odd camera angles, were achieved without optical or digital compositing. Number 2. Gary Oldman slept in a coffin. Cast member Cary Elwes revealed that Gary Oldman slept in a coffin every night during filming, isolating himself by choice, as part of preparing for his role as Dracula. This method acting choice added an unsettling authenticity to his portrayal. Number 3. Keanu Reeves was cast for his looks, not his accent. Keanu Reeves, cast as Jonathan Harker, brought youthful appeal and thus broader audience draw, though casting confirmed that accent mastery wasn't the priority. Critics broadly panned his stiff, posh-sounding British accent. Coppola later commented that Reeves tried so hard, in trying to do it perfectly, it came off as stilted. Whether he was cast for looks is interpretive, but audience appeal likely contributed. However, accent issues are well documented. Francis Ford Coppola dismissed his original visual effects team. He believed their modern techniques weren't right for the film's period-appropriate, handmade aesthetic. Instead, he entrusted Roman Coppola to employ turn-of-the-century camera tricks, double exposures, forced perspective, reverse shooting, and in-camera illusions to create the film's uncanny visuals, without any digital or optical effects. According to Cary Elwes, Gary Oldman took an extreme method acting approach. He slept in a coffin every night and isolated himself from the rest of the cast, an eerie commitment that blurred the line between actor and creature. Keanu Reeves was chosen in part for his rising star appeal and youthful charisma. His attempt at a Victorian English accent, however, drew widespread criticism. Viewers found it overly formal and stilted, something even Coppola acknowledged. Number 4. Coppola made the cast read the novel aloud. Before filming, Coppola invited the cast to his Napa Valley estate, where they read Bram Stoker's Dracula aloud together. It was not simply rehearsal, it was a ritual meant to immerse them in Stoker's original language and atmosphere. Coppola believed the communal reading would deepen their connection to the story and to each other. The multi-day exercise gave their performance a literary weight, as if they were channeling characters lifted straight from the novel rather than inventing them anew.
God, who are you? I know you.
Number 5. Winona Ryder brought the script as an apology. Winona Ryder's role in the film began as an act of atonement. After she dropped out of The Godfather Part 3, Coppola was frustrated and hurt. To reconcile, Ryder brought him James V. Hart's screenplay for Dracula. Coppola, intrigued by its Gothic tone, agreed to direct. In a strange twist, one actress's apology created one of the decade's most distinctive horror films. Without Ryder's gesture, Coppola might never have taken on the project, and the film would not exist in its iconic form today. Number 6. The blood looked real enough to terrify. The film is drenched in crimson. Rivers of blood spill across sets during battles and vampire transformations. Effects crews designed the gore using thickened syrups, gelatin, and food dyes, giving it a dense texture that filmed as disturbingly real. On set, the sheer volume of liquid was overwhelming. It soaked costumes, pooled across floors, and clung under the hot lights, leaving a grotesque sheen. For audiences, the result was operatic horror. For cast and crew, the studio looked more like a Gothic slaughterhouse. Number 7. Coppola used hypnosis on his cast. Some of Dracula's seduction scenes required actors to move like they were entranced. Rather than merely direct them, Coppola experimented with hypnotic suggestion. According to first-hand accounts, during Lucy's vampiric seduction, Sadie Frost remembered the director speaking in low, rhythmic cadences to set a trance-like tone. Whether she was formally hypnotized or simply responding to his intensity, the result was uncanny. On screen, Lucy appears truly possessed, as though her body has slipped beyond her control. Off-camera, cast members later admitted that Coppola's method left them disoriented, almost as if they, too, had fallen under Dracula's spell. Number 8. Sadie Frost nearly suffocated in her coffin. In the chilling resurrection scene, Sadie Frost lay in a coffin as Van Helsing loomed with a stake. When the lid jammed unexpectedly, she was trapped inside. Crew members had to scramble to pry it open before she ran out of air. Frost later clarified that her terrified gasps and frantic thrashing weren't entirely acting. Genuine panic fueled her performance. Watching the scene today, her raw fear telescopes through the lens, making the horror feel all the more visceral and real. Number 9. Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves might be actually married. One of the strangest lingering legends from the production is that Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves may have been legally married while filming their character's wedding. Coppola has said he used a real Romanian Orthodox priest and shot the ceremony in full, prompting Ryder, and later Reeves, to joke that the on-screen vows might count in real life. It's never been tested in court, but the director himself has backed the possibility, a delightfully eerie wrinkle for a film already obsessed with love and fate. Number 10. Coppola forced actors to wear period underwear. Francis Ford Coppola believed authenticity began beneath the costume. He insisted his cast wear authentic Victorian undergarments, even though audiences would never see them on screen. Winona Ryder admitted she found the choice uncomfortable, but Coppola argued that the restriction changed how they moved, sat, and carried themselves. The strange commitment to invisible detail made performances feel more rigid and constrained, as if the characters were literally trapped in layers of history. Number 11. Coppola wanted the movie to feel like theater. Instead of filming scenes piecemeal, Coppola often staged sequences as if they were live theater. He gathered the entire cast in one space, even if only 2 characters were on camera. This gave every moment the electricity of a stage play, with actors feeding off unseen energy in the room. Sometimes Hopkins would even lurk nearby during love scenes, reciting lines under his breath like a phantom. The method blurred rehearsal and performance, leaving actors feeling as if they were haunted on set. Number 12. The bat transformation was nightmare fuel. One of the film's most disturbing moments is Dracula's grotesque bat transformation. Instead of relying on CGI, Coppola had a massive rubber suit built for Gary Oldman to wear. The sight of the creature was so horrifying that Winona Ryder reportedly burst into tears the first time she saw it. Crew members described the suit as hot, suffocating, and reeking of glue and latex. The unease it generated on set translated perfectly to screen, giving audiences a monster that felt uncomfortably alive. Number 13. Coppola wanted shadows to have a life of their own. In Dracula, shadows often behave independently, stretching across walls, reaching for characters, or moving when Dracula himself does not. Coppola achieved this entirely with practical effects, using hidden puppeteers and off-camera rigs instead of digital trickery. The unsettling effect feels like a glitch in reality, something viewers may not notice consciously but instinctively sense is wrong. Coppola explained he wanted Dracula's very presence to warp the natural order, so cursed that even his shadow betrayed him. Number 14. Oldman and Ryder barely spoke off-set. Despite their on-screen chemistry, Gary Oldman and Winona Ryder had strained relations behind the scenes. Ryder later admitted they barely spoke during filming, which made certain intimate moments difficult to perform. The strange irony is that this tension worked in Coppola's favor. Mina's relationship with Dracula is one of fear and attraction, and Ryder's unease with Oldman bled naturally into her performance. What began as discomfort off-camera translated into authentic conflict on-screen. Number 15. Tom Waits was really locked in a cell. Musician Tom Waits played the deranged Renfield, Dracula's insect-eating servant, and Coppola went to unusual lengths to capture his madness. He had Waits perform inside a real cell-like set, surrounded by restraints, insects, and filth. Waits leaned into the environment, improvising muttered lines and unsettling laughter between takes. Crew members said visiting the set felt like entering an asylum. That disturbing authenticity gave his Renfield an intensity that remains one of the most frightening portrayals in horror cinema. Number 16. The costumes were designed to be living nightmares. Japanese designer Eiko Ishioka won an Academy Award for the film's costumes, which were unlike anything seen in previous Dracula adaptations. She deliberately avoided cliches like tuxedos and capes, instead creating surreal, dreamlike garments. Dracula's armor resembles the muscles of a flayed body, and Lucy's wedding dress looks like a writhing serpent. Actors described wearing the costumes as both awe-inspiring and suffocating. Coppola encouraged them to treat the costumes as extensions of their characters' souls, not just clothing. The result was a wardrobe that looked alive, unsettling in ways words can barely describe. Number 17. Coppola used reverse film tricks for extra unease. Many of Dracula's most uncanny moments were achieved by filming actors performing movements in reverse and then playing the footage forward. For example, when Mina walks through the garden in a trance, her veil seems to float unnaturally because it was filmed backward. These little tricks gave scenes an eerie, dreamlike quality. Nothing overtly supernatural happens, yet the human body suddenly looks wrong, like reality itself has been cursed. Viewers couldn't always pinpoint why a scene felt disturbing, only that it lodged in their memory like a nightmare. Number 18. Anthony Hopkins delivered exorcisms like a madman. Hopkins' Van Helsing is not the calm, scholarly figure seen in earlier Dracula adaptations. Coppola encouraged him to be wild, eccentric, and unpredictable. Hopkins ran with it, shouting lines, laughing at inappropriate moments, and delivering exorcisms as though he was possessed himself. Some critics at the time called it overacting, but the cast said it made filming unnerving. They never knew how Hopkins would play a scene, and his manic energy kept everyone on edge. It turned Van Helsing into both a savior and a lunatic, exactly what Coppola wanted. Number 19. Coppola forced the cast into strange rehearsals. In addition to the full novel read-through, Coppola ran unorthodox rehearsals. He would dim the lights, burn incense, and have the cast perform scenes in whispers or exaggerated movements. Sometimes he asked them to crawl on the ground like animals. He claimed it helped them break out of standard acting habits and tap into something primal. The cast found it bizarre, but they admitted it gave the movie a surreal energy that no one could have achieved through traditional methods. Number 20. The brides of Dracula terrified the crew. Dracula's three brides were played by Monica Bellucci, Michaela Bercu, and Florina Kendrick, and their scenes with Jonathan Harker were filmed on sets draped in crimson fabrics and heavy mist. Coppola instructed the actresses to crawl, slither, and writhe like predators instead of moving naturally. Keanu Reeves later said the sequence was intensely uncomfortable, and even crew members admitted the mixture of eroticism and menace was disturbing to watch. Their animalistic energy gave the scene a haunting, otherworldly charge. Number 21. Coppola wanted to scare his own cast. Francis Ford Coppola believed actors should feel the same dread as their characters. To unsettle them, he blasted eerie sound effects on set, piped in animal noises during rehearsals, and filled rooms with smoke and shifting shadows before anyone entered. Winona Ryder later said she never felt entirely safe during filming, which Coppola admitted was deliberate. By keeping his cast uneasy, he infused the film with a haunted, restless energy, as though the director himself was a phantom manipulating events from the shadows.
It is finished.
Number 22. The blood was uncomfortably realistic. The film's torrents of blood weren't just eye-catching, they were deliberately crafted to unsettle. Coppola's effects team tested syrups, dyes, and food gels until they found a blend that looked thick and arterial under the lights. For certain scenes, they even heated the mixture so it steamed in the cold air. Gary Oldman once joked he could still smell it long after shooting, and others admitted that working with so much gore was nauseating. That sensory overload is part of why the blood on screen feels so uncomfortably real. Number 23. Coppola cut an even stranger ending. Early drafts and rough cuts of Dracula ended with Mina not only killing the Count, but briefly transforming into a vampire herself before collapsing in grief. Test audiences found the sequence confusing and overly bleak, leading Coppola to reshape the finale into the tragic but romantic ending audiences know today. Still, hints of that darker version remain in Ryder's performance. Her trembling, sudden intensity, and the kiss before the killing all echo the film's discarded sinister conclusion. Number 24. The wolf scene disturbed everyone. One of the film's most infamous moments is Dracula's seduction of Lucy in his half-wolf form. Coppola shot the sequence with Gary Oldman in full monstrous makeup, looming over Sadie Frost in a haze of mist and moonlight. Even the cast admitted the imagery was deeply upsetting, an uncomfortable mixture of animal transformation, eroticism, and violence. Coppola defended the moment, saying it reflected Victorian anxieties about sexuality and bestiality. Decades later, it remains one of the most disturbing depictions of vampiric lust on screen. Number 25. Dracula's castle was built like a labyrinth. Coppola wanted Dracula's castle to feel less like a set and more like a nightmare given form. Designers built corridors that ended in dead ends, staircases that twisted unnaturally, and doorways sized just slightly wrong. Actors described losing their bearings between takes, wandering into pitch-black corners, unsure if they were on set or in storage. That confusion bled onto the screen. Each time Jonathan or Mina wandered the halls, the audience shared the same disorientation, as if the castle itself were alive, trapping them in its hunger. Bonus creepy facts for true fans. Bonus number 1. Keanu Reeves regretted his accent. Keanu Reeves' Victorian English accent has long been singled out as one of the film's weakest elements. Critics called it stiff and distracting, and years later Reeves admitted he had been exhausted after filming back-to-back projects. He simply didn't have the energy to perfect it. The irony is that his awkwardness works. Jonathan Harker is supposed to feel like an outsider in Dracula's world, and Reeves' performance unintentionally amplifies that sense of alienation. Bonus number 2. Coppola made his son edit the film. Francis Ford Coppola entrusted his son Roman Coppola with more than just effects. Roman coordinated the elaborate in-camera tricks and even edited some sequences himself. His fingerprints are all over the finished product, from double exposures to reverse motion shots. The involvement of Coppola's family gave the movie an eerie intimacy, a Gothic horror stitched together like a strange home movie passed down between generations. Bonus number 3. Oldman listened to Gregorian chants between takes. To stay submerged in character, Gary Oldman often shut himself off from the rest of the cast with headphones. Inside, he blasted Gregorian chants, operas, and dark symphonic music. Crew members recalled him pacing the set, muttering prayers and lines under his breath as though he was possessed. This ritual heightened the unsettling aura around him, and the intensity spilled directly into his performance. His Dracula remains unforgettable precisely because Oldman lived in the character's shadow between takes. Bram Stoker's Dracula, 1992, was never just another vampire film. Francis Ford Coppola turned it into a feverish experiment in cinema itself. Shadows stretched and moved through old-fashioned camera tricks. Costumes became living nightmares through Eiko Ishioka's surreal designs, and rehearsals often felt more like rituals than standard table reads. Gary Oldman gave Dracula both tragedy and menace. Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves anchored the film with uneasy romance, and Anthony Hopkins embraced chaos as a wild, unpredictable Van Helsing. What emerged wasn't a traditional horror story, but an operatic vision of desire, mortality, and monstrosity. It unsettled the cast, tested the crew, and pushed Coppola into battles over style, budget, and performance. More than 3 decades later, it still feels dangerous, a Gothic epic that blurs the line between theater and nightmare. Like Dracula himself, the movie refuses to die. It lingers, haunting generations, proving that sometimes the strangest productions create the most immortal films. This is Strange Flick Facts, where we dig up the bizarre truths behind the movies you thought you knew.